people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we grapple with an unsettling truth. A truth that challenges the very essence of who we are as a nation. In recent times, a disconcerting wave of anti-Semitism has swept through certain corners of our political landscape, and shockingly, it's found a troubling acceptance among some on the left. A realm where such hatred was presumed to be extinct. What's even more alarming is witnessing elected officials affiliated with some of the groups who fan those flames, like the Democratic Socialists of America. Now, they're not turning a blind eye, and in some cases, like I said, they're stoking these prejudices. This burgeoning anti-Semitism is not merely a political misstep. It's a profound moral failure. It's kind of mirrors the darkness and acceptance that we had seen once in our history, a stain on our nation's soul, at once described by Benjamin Franklin as he spoke against the horrors of slavery. And today, the challenge before us echoes the moral crossroads of our forebears. Who do we choose to be? Will we align ourselves with those who paradoxically once denounced racism, but now champion or tolerate the bigotry they claim to hate? To those, if you still are contemplating your stance in this political quagmire, I pose this vital question to you. Where do you stand? Do you side with those who echo the abhorrent rhetoric reminiscent of history's darkest regimes? Or do you stand with those who champion the belief that we are all unique individuals, where culture and color are not distinct, and where everyone deserves respect? Amid these turbulent debates, it's crucial not to lose sight of what truly matters. In the hustle of our daily lives and the fervor of discourse, remember the bonds that make our lives worth living. Spend time with your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Reach out to a family member, connect with a friend. In this era that is dominated by digital interactions, it's more important than ever to combat that creeping loneliness that may be faced by many, and particularly our men, who are often told that silence equals strength. Tonight, we are also excited to announce a new addition to our lineup. The show is going to be called Alexandra 360 on the Patriots Prayer. Alexandra Levine, well, her Israeli roots and her ties to the Trump administration will be bringing a fresh perspective and engaging discussions to our already inclusive platform. So, as we move forward, let's commit to fostering a community that uplifts, supports, and respects. Let's remember that in our quest to safeguard our cherished values, that we must also nurture our relationships that sustain us. Welcome to the Patriots Prayer. I am your host, Eddie Smith, and joined by my co-host, Maurice. Let's dive into today's Patriots. I may be joined a little later with by my co-host, Native Patriot, Maurice. He's running a little late and running behind, but we're gonna go ahead and get started with the show. There's a lot to unpack. I mean, I asked the question in the opening monologue, and it's a detrimental question. You know, who are we? What tale is history going to tell? Because we have two tales from two different perspectives. One, people knowingly, willingly lying. They know they're evil. They know the things they're pushing for are wrong. And yet they still push for them. And then you have those who are just so uneducated, they don't realize they're pushing for the wrong thing, or they want to be on, they want to be on what's deemed the popular side, right? They go along to get along crowd. And then you have people that are willing to stand up and do what's right. And, to me, it seems like our numbers are dwindling, or at least the people that have the real wherewithal and the real guts, like the ones that will really go out there and stand for something and stand up against something. The kind that don't care about the consequences of doing what's right. The kind of people that only care that God's watching and he is their only judge. And we're heading into a time where we need people just like that. We need people that are willing to do what's right no matter the consequences. I love my country very, very much. And I love my countrymen very, very much. And when I say that, I don't mean just those who claim to be my countrymen because they are United States citizens. I'm tired of pandering to the middle, where people are so afraid to take a stand or a divisive stance. And I'm willing to do that right here today. And I'm willing to say with no qualms whatsoever, none at all, that what they're doing is wrong. And that the things that my government currently is pushing for right now, there are so many laws across our United States that go, they fly in the face of what's good. They fly in the face of God's law. They fly in the face of God's word. And they put us all who actually believe, all who say we stand for something, it puts us in a position to say, or to choose, am I going to follow God, or am I going to follow the government? It's a real question. You're at a real fork in the road. This is not time for people to question themselves or to second guess themselves. It's time for people to take a stand. It's time for people to go out. As many of those people that you see on the college campuses taking their stand, siding with, historically, it would have been Nazis. They are the first ones to call someone a Nazi. They're the first ones to say someone is a racist. And they try to differentiate between Palestinians and Hamas. And I'm not one who differentiates. And the reason why is because the Palestinians, and I said it before and I'll say it again, I'll say it on the next show as well, because you need to hear it and you need to repeat it. The same thing. After 9/11, who was cheering? It was the Palestinians who were cheering. When the young girl was raped and drugged through the streets recently after October the 7th, who were those people that were spitting on that young woman? They were Palestinians. If there are Palestinians in that group and within their countrymen who disagree with their countrymen, I would echo the same sentiment that we tell anyone from any country that has a regime that should be overthrown. It would be to fight back from within. If you stand for something, stand for something. Sometimes in life, there is no good way out. I hate to be the one to break the news to people, but there's just not. When you're in a position like that, you have to ask yourself a question. Am I going to actually, if I live for something, what am I willing to die for? And those are the realities of war. And they have, by now you would think that people, humans, would have gotten to a point in history where we would be beyond all of the bigotry. We would be beyond the need for the kind of wars that we see, the kind of genocidal maniacs that we allow to rule us. But we're not. And it's really troubling. I mean, what has to happen? I guess that's the other question, right? What has to happen to wake us up? What is going to make those of you on the right finally take a stand? Not little small groups, not this pocket of America, that pocket of America, that, three-letter agency every now and again. What is going to make America stand up? What's it going to take for you to walk out your front door and stop taking part in the things that these people are pushing? What's going to make you say, no, I refuse? Where's your line? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Mine was crossed a long time ago. Mine was crossed when the medical community started advocating to allow children to make decisions as young as 12 to mutilate themselves, or for states to protect kidnappers as they take children from one state to another to reaffirm said gender without the parents' knowledge or approval. Or when you let 50-year-old men into the YMCA to shower with 13-year-old girls. Or when you let men in women's private spaces. Or when you let men compete against women who trained all their lives for a scholarship, for a chance to be great, and it's stolen from them by someone who could not compete at the level they need to in a man's sport, but is completely unfair for them to compete in a woman's sport. My line was crossed when those in power who know better in the medical community and our government start pinning trophies on people's arms and bars and stars, saying they're the first woman this or that. Or when women's pageantries are won by people who are not even women. And we're asked as Christians to shut up, to keep our opinions to ourselves, and to accept this delusion or be labeled a bigot, where we're not allowed to believe and espouse our beliefs as God-fearing people without it being called hate speech. Isn't it hate speech when they say that about us? Isn't it hate speech when they call us intolerant and don't allow us to live out our beliefs and our values and our ethics, when they don't allow us to have the integrity that a Christian should have and walk with on the daily? They're even attacking our churches. They're literally going into the churches and going against the written word and ordaining people that are in the LGBTQ community. The Catholic Church just most recently gave I can't believe I'm saying it. I mean, I'm not a Catholic, but I assume that they were at least in the leadership level would never turn around and do or condone the thing that God says is wrong in 1 Corinthians 6:9 and Romans 1, Deuteronomy 24. It says that men should not dress like women and women should not dress like men. What got Sodom and Gomorrah completely, just completely demolished off the face of the earth. And Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt. As Christians, we're not allowed to have those opinions. We're not allowed to have a voice. We're not allowed to speak. Because if we do, it's hate. It's not hate. It's as much hate as it is, and I'll make this comparison. If you know someone in your life who is doing wrong, or let's say they're a drug abuser or something like that, and you stand between them and the drugs, is that hate? Because you want to prevent them from destroying their lives Well, it's no more hate doing that than it is speaking up against somebody who doesn't allow you to have a voice and who is espousing ideas that will lead other people straight to the doorstep of hell itself. We have First Amendment privileges as well as Christians and God-fearing people. That's just the truth. That's the way it is. Now, we're going to come back to the anti-Semitism that's going on our campuses, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But I before we completely leave the subject just for a minute, I want you to see what our nation is capable of devolving into. You take going to the grocery store for granted. You take the electricity in your home for granted. You take the running water out of your tap for granted. You think it's always going to be there. Your electrical grid is always going to be there. Your ability to just run down the street and buy a side of beef out of the grocery store or supplies, it's always going to be there. COVID should have taught you a lot more than that. It should have taught you a lot more than that. It taught me a hell of a lot more than that. We're on the brink of several world wars, people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're on the brink of several different conflicts that could bleed over into something that's so disastrous, so just beyond our ability to really understand and comprehend. And if said thing should ever happen, we're not going to have the grocery store to run to. You're going to flip your light switch and nothing's going to come on. I hate to be all doom and gloom, but that's the reality. And the reason I say this is because I want you to be prepared. I don't want you caught off guard at all. I do not want to see men, women, and children and families devolving into savagery, robbing their neighbors because they didn't prepare, because they just thought everything was always going to be okay and fine. As we have a sponsor led by a guy named Teddy Daniels, and he's put out a book that is, it's a very simple little how-to guide, and I promise you, you want this. If it should go down tomorrow, you want this book. It's going to tell you how to restore power. It's going to tell you how to clean water. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. And it's going to give you the names of other supplies that you may need to buy just to have around in the home. Things that you never considered because we take our luxuries that we have at our fingertips every day for granted. So with that, I'm going to share with you a quick little video on Operation Blackout. Now, I want you to take a look at the video, and I really want you to consider the fact that our country is devolving into madness. China, Ukraine, Russia, Taiwan, with this whole situation, who knows what's going to happen if Russia just decides to really go in and take Ukraine. They've been playing with kid gloves this whole time, folks. Don't think for a second that Ukraine can really hold Russia off. That is not. If you think that Russia is going to lose that war, you're living in a fantasy world. We're throwing good money after bad. That is the reality of it. And the other part of it for me is really, if Zelensky is canceling elections and not allowing people to worship as they will, he got rid of the free press and he jailed his political opponents. What's the difference between him and Putin? Somebody tell me. Because I don't think there is one. But just in case it goes down tomorrow, listen to what our sponsor has to offer, folks, and take the time to go into the description of the video and click on Operation Blackout and take a listen to what they have to offer. I'm telling you, you want this guide. It's amazing. It's a great book. And like I said, things do go wrong, and they can in a hurry, you think that they're going to let this election season come and go without, look, I know you feel it in the air just like I do. Something is bound to happen. And it seems to me that those on the left who continue to attack Trump for no damn good reason, they levy charges against him that are completely baseless. They create charges where there are none. He got a fraud case where no one was defrauded. He got raped by a woman. He got raped. They said he raped a woman who can't even tell you what year it was that it happened, who sat in an interview on CNN and said that what happened to her wasn't sexual. They know what they're doing, folks. They are not to be trusted. They're not to be trusted. And if you think they're going to just willingly hand over the reins of power back to Trump without a fight, you're looking at the fight right now. And there's a whole different side to this about the 5-point symbols on our flags and symbology in the United States being traded in for that of Islamic symbology and 8-point stars. And we're going to have some folks on the podcast come Wednesday who are going to talk to every one of those things. Take a listen to this ad from their sponsor, and we'll be right back.
This marks the potential start of a third world war, where we will be hit with a silent, untraceable attack on America that unfortunately very few will see coming. This attack will be unlike any we have seen before, the one that directly targets our power grid, which will cause a nationwide blackout and plunge our great nation into darkness, despair, and starvation. I know some patriots have been preparing for this eventuality, but stockpiling and growing your own food is simply not enough, because this marks just the first phase of this orchestrated attack on America. And with Sleepy Joe and his team of incompetents at the helm, people will soon realize no one is coming to save them. Then it will be every man for himself. The looting will begin. Supermarkets will be ransacked. Local gangs and marauders will target anyone who looks like easy pickings. And by the end of the first week, millions of unprepared, desperate, and hungry Americans will be eating from garbage cans, if they're lucky. And that's exactly what our enemies want, to destroy our great nation from the inside. But the reality is, you do not have to be a victim. There is something you can do to prepare. Hi, my name is Teddy Daniels. I am a United States war hero, a White House insider, and a Purple Heart recipient. And I just released an emergency broadcast that reveals the one thing you must do in the first hour of the attack. That will guarantee you will have a power supply for you and your family. These 3 secrets will give you peace of mind and unlimited power during this critical time. By seeing this right now makes you one of the lucky ones. Because when the attack happens, most Americans will have no idea what hit them, but not you. You'll be in complete control, and that puts a lot of power in your hands. Yes, others may laugh when they see you quietly preparing for this imminent attack, but once our power grid fails, those woke millennials won't be laughing anymore. They will be wishing they had prepared, while you and your family prosper and thrive. But you need to move fast. I have it on good authority. This attack could start as soon as next week. So I urge any American or true patriot to watch my emergency broadcast right now before it gets taken down again by the powers that be to protect their controlling interests. Watch it now while you still can, like your life depends on it, because it does.
The link for that is in the description of the video, folks. And I know some may think it's a little over the top, but it's not. It is absolutely not. This weekend, my wife and I will be traveling out of town to go down and purchase a fifth wheel. It's that serious for us. We're not naive. We know something's in the air. We know something's about to happen. I'm certain of it. We don't know what, we don't know who, we don't know how, we don't know where the attack will come from. But you're fooling yourself if you say you don't feel it too. If you don't think that there's just something that's imminent. It's crazy the things that we're seeing on the news. The stuff is not normal. It's not normal. It's never been like this at any other point in history. Famine, war, rumors of war, pestilence, all of the things that's talked about in scripture. But guys, listen, that book that he's going to tell you about in that video, when you guys go click it in Operation Blackout, it's $65. The book, it's $65. And here's the thing, they are doing a limited time promotion for us here at the Patriots Prayer. If you purchase that book, they will actually donate $100 to the Patriots Prayer. So guys, listen, it helps us out and it helps you out. That book is going to tell you how to turn the power back on should it go out. That book's going to tell you how to clean the waters. That book's going to tell you so many things that you absolutely need to know. It's a post-apocalyptic survival guide. And it's really cool, and you should have it regardless. Listen, changing topics slightly here for a second. I want to talk about George Allen Kelly, and that's the Arizona rancher who was just recently he was recently let go. They finally decided to let this old man who was protecting his property and his family against people who feloniously entered our country and came on his property illegally. Many people say, well, he didn't pretend wasn't defending himself against it. It was his property. His property. They didn't belong there. They didn't belong in the country. What he did was exactly the most American thing that he could have possibly done under the circumstances. That is why the Second Amendment exists. It's exactly why he was allowed to have a gun for just such a situation. What is he supposed to do? Wait until something bad happens, until the person who shouldn't have been on his property maybe broke into his house while he was asleep and hurt his wife? And, that's the worst part of all. While he was going through all this and he was locked up and he was in a 10x4, he lost his wife. I mean, if that doesn't choke you up, you're not human. Dan, what's going on, brother? How are you? I see you there. And I see you too, Leslie. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. I really do. Dan, a lot of stuff going on, brother. And threw you into a few groups, as you've seen. So have fun with that. And Dan over at the Nun Report is a great friend of the Patriots Prayer. And we really do look out for one another and this clique of people we have. I'll give you a few names. So you got Rev over at Boiling Point. You have Chris over Chris's World. Dan, myself. We're going to have Alexandra coming on board here in just a few weeks. We're setting her up right now. Her podcast is going to be called Alexandra 360. Now, she brings a whole fresh, unique perspective to everything with her Israeli ties and being a part of the Trump national faith team and just a fighter. I mean, absolutely 100% a fighter. And she's at every one of these events and she's speaking and she's going and she's helping candidates out and she's in the field and working. This is a lady who gets involved. This is a lady who is out there fighting for what she believes in. She's just not being an armchair quarterback. And we're very happy to have her as part of the Patriots Prayer team. So what you will start to see is you'll start to see a little less of me. Because I'll be supporting folks, lining up guests, preparing the shows, doing a lot of the production. And there's something else that I'm working out. One more show for the Patriots Prayer. And all I can tell you is this. I haven't gotten through any agreements with everyone yet. I think it's going to go through and it's going to work. And if it does, One of the people that we're going to have on board on the Patriots Prayer, which will be a separate, it'll be the Patriots Prayer as an umbrella, and there will be different shows, all Patriots Prayer. Like you see Fox News and you have Hannity and all these different shows. That's exactly what the Patriots Prayer will be. It'll be the Patriots Prayer, and then you'll have a show with myself. You'll have Maurice. You'll have Alexandra and these folks. And I can tell you one of them actually right now works for a media company. One of them actually is already in the press and decided that they want to do a podcast. So I want to make that possible, because I want to bring you guys the best of the best. And I want to make sure that we have people that are true investigative journalists that are willing to go out there and tell the hard truths and bring the receipts to back it up. And believe me, with the ladies that I have coming on board, guys, you're getting ready for a firestorm of just women that are going to be absolutely just tearing down the left, taking up for children everywhere, standing up for parents, standing up for our country, and going out in the field and doing the work and bringing you the actual receipts for everything that they say. I trust them explicitly to know that I know for a fact that they feel as I do. You can't intimidate me. You can't force me to not say something or to say something. I believe that I'm doing this by the grace of God. So there's nothing you can do to intimidate me. And these women are all exactly the same. They feel like they're doing this because they must do it. And that's the reason, 100% the reason why I decided to reach out, talk to them, and offer them a place on the Patriots Prayer. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely amazing. You are going to start to see the biggest names in politics come on the show. You're going to see a lot of people who are affiliated with people who are in previous political campaigns, who are affiliated with media companies that are out there. I want to tell you more. I just can't right now. And it's going to put an entirely new twist on what Maurice and I are doing at the Patriots Prayer. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, George Allen Kelly, I'm so glad that he's now able to be home, but I'm sure that being home doesn't mean as much as it would have if he would have been able to have been there for his wife, whom he lost while he was being put through this mess by, a government that should have known better. We had people that were arrested for dismembering people and let out on the streets. Somebody trying to stab Dave Chappelle on stage, and he was out that night. There were several people that have done things that are absolutely abhorrent, who are not even citizens of this country, and were never kept in jail awaiting trial or prison this long. They have cashless bail. They have all these things that they do, and they put in place for those who they want to protect, whose political ideology aligns with their own. But this man had to spend his entire life with his mate, his wife, his partner, and be locked in a little cell away from her with his freedom taken, as she by herself had to live this life on the outside without her husband. And as a result of a broken heart, of the stress caused by the situation, who knows? But she lost her life, and he wasn't there to be by her side. And that is absolutely abhorrent. That should sicken every single person watching. So now there are 3 U.S. Marshals on a fugitive task force that have been killed. Police are not being respected. They're not respected. And the reason they're not respected is because the left has created an atmosphere where the police are not respected, and people feel as though the left will back them up in their disrespect. That's why they move through the streets with impunity and say the things that they say and do the things that they do, because they believe, the left, that the people in office are so much like them that they can get away with doing whatever in the name of social justice. Remember this girl?
You guys want to criminalize us with metal detectors? We'll see you at your house. We'll murder you.
These kids have been told and taught and egged on and said, you can do whatever you want in the name of social justice. You won't suffer any ramification, no repercussions. You will not be held accountable, because the people in power, our president, the people in his cabinet, all the Democrats on the left, they all support you in what you're doing. Hell, you have members of the left that are members of the DSA. The squad who tried to come out like they were against all the anti-Semitic rhetoric that you see going on and talking out both sides of their face. They're phony. And in a real world, a world where laws actually meant something, where a constitution actually meant something, in a world where our national identity is still intact, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. They would be thrown out of office tomorrow, and thrown out, escorted out in cuffs. The moment that it comes to find out that Rashida Tlaib has a member of her entourage, bodyguard, the one that assaulted, or I wouldn't say assault, verbally assaulted MTG as she's walking down the steps of the Capitol. Turns out this man was a member of the PLO. Why in the hell is a person like that allowed in our Capitol? Anyone who is a socialist, anyone is a seditionist, because you cannot put in place a socialist government unless you tear down the current system that we have, rip up our Constitution and Bill of Rights, shred it and throw it in the trash. Then you can institute a socialist government. You cannot institute a socialist government where the power is to the people and not the government without first throwing our Constitution in the trash, without first abolishing most of the freedoms that we enjoy, because there's no First Amendment in a socialist government. It comes right along with the fascism that they're already espousing. They're already pushing on us. They're already saying, hey, if you say this, you'll lose your job. If you say this, how many people have been witness to cancel culture? It's fascism. It's all it is. It's 100% fascism. And these people, they try to relabel everything and make it sound like they're the good guys. And they're standing up for things that are absolutely abhorrent. I want you to take into account that they're saying that in the numbers of people who died, or who have died thus far in this war between Israel and Palestine, is somewhere up in like the 34,000 range. Who gave you those numbers? Where did those numbers come from? Right? It came from the same Palestinians that are governed by Hamas. Those numbers come from Hamas. When Joe Biden gives aid to Palestine, hundreds of millions of dollars, where's that money going? To the terrorists to continue doing this. If you want the war to stop, give the hostages back and have Hamas surrender, and the war's over. 5 minutes later, that was not even 5 minutes, that second, but they're still holding on to hostages. And I want everyone to remember who they are, how this started, right? This is who they really are. This is how all of this started. Those were innocent women, older women, young women, laying all over bus stops, in fields. They were gunned down for nothing, for nothing. For a colonial power, because they were fighting a colonial power. Let me tell you something. Palestine has never existed. How in the hell can someone occupy a land that has never existed? It was Judea before the Roman emperor changed it. And he never changed it to Palestine. He changed it to Syria de Palestina because he didn't like the name Judea. But I'm going to give you a brief little history lesson, guys. Take a listen.
All over the world, people are demonstrating to give the land of Israel back to the Palestinian people. Let's look at the history of the land. From 1948 until today, not a Palestinian state. From 1917 to 1948, not a Palestinian state. From 1516 to 1917, not a Palestinian state. From 1260 to 1516, not a Palestinian state. From 1187 to 1260, not a Palestinian state. From 1099 to 1187, not a Palestinian state. From 638 to 1099, not a Palestinian state. From 324 to 638, not a Palestinian state. From 63 BCE to 324, not a Palestinian state. From 167 BCE to 63, not a Palestinian state. From 322 BCE to 167 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 586 BCE to 322 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 1004 BCE to 586 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 1200 BCE to 1004 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 3600 BCE to 1200 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 5800 BCE to 3600 BCE, not a Palestinian state. Fiction can be compelling, inspiring, even emotional, but it's still fiction. Don't be duped.
So, like I was saying, Palestine has never, ever, ever existed. So how in the hell can Israel occupy a land that's never existed? Yet, they abandoned the Gaza Strip in 2005. And do you think that was good for the Palestinians? No. It turned into a training camp for militants. They dug tunnels. They were preparing for this attack from the day that Israel abandoned the Gaza Strip. Under hospitals, in schools, behind children, and typically in their everyday neighborhoods, guerrilla warfare. People, don't fall for this mess. Do not fall for this mess. The worst thing that Israel probably did was to give that land back. Because at least when Israel was there were jobs, there were peace, it was clean, it wasn't a militant state. And look what happened as a result. Listen, they've tried to give Palestine statehood 7 times. 7 different attempts. And on 7 different occasions, Palestine said they will not negotiate with Israel. There will never be peace as long as Israel exists. So when people say from the river to the sea like it's a good thing, it is a racist statement. It's tantamount to saying Heil Hitler. There's no difference. It's 100% the same. Listen. Check this out. Here, I want to play a statement from Bernie, and I'm going to play another statement from an organization who is pushing to make you think that they're not anti-Semitic because they are out there having pro-Palestinian marches and these sorts of things. It's an absolute lie, but I want you to understand the level to which they will go to try to make you believe that lie. Watch.
No, Mr. Netanyahu, it is not anti-Semitic or pro-Hamas to point out that in a little over 6 months, your extremist government has killed 34,000 Palestinians and wounded more than 78,000, 70% of whom are women and children. It is not anti-Semitic to point out that your bombing has completely destroyed more than 221,000 housing units in Gaza, leaving more than 1 million people homeless, almost half the population. It is not anti-Semitic to note that your government has obliterated Gaza's civilian infrastructure, electricity, water, and sewage. It is not anti-Semitic to realize that your government has annihilated Gaza's healthcare system, knocking 26 hospitals out of service and killing more than 400 healthcare workers.
People, that is 100% BS. As a matter of fact, the statements about the hospitals we already know were done by Hamas themselves. And it was set up to make it look like Israel was the one to blame. And when the intelligence agencies went so far as to give a briefing to that anti-Semitic Jew-hating Rashida Tlaib, she decided to go out into the middle of the street in D.C. and hold a rally where she got on stage after just receiving the briefing, knowing the honest truth, knowing who was really at fault, and telling everyone the exact opposite. And then they stormed the Capitol. Jews for Peace, along with others, stormed the Capitol. They weren't treated like January 6th people were treated. Most of them, they're not even in jail anymore. But they occupied the Capitol. They did exactly the same things. So, and they did it at the behest of Rashida Tlaib. They did it after her speech that was actually inciting this. What happened there? Did you see any impeachment hearings? I didn't see any impeachment hearings. I guess it's rules for me, or rules for thee, and rules for me. All too often we see a left that is never held accountable to the laws that they break, and a right that is held accountable for laws that they didn't. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. I'm going to play one more for you. Check this one out.
Terrorist. Anti-Semitic.
Words used to silence us.
Words used to deter us from advocating for justice.
Does calling for an end to murder make me a terrorist?
Does calling for freedom for all, from the river to the sea, make me anti-Semitic?
No, it does not.
Did you catch it? She said, does saying from the river to the sea make her anti-Semitic? Absolutely makes you anti-Semitic. It means to drive the Jews into the sea. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which means you have to take over the free state of Israel and rid it from all Jews, because Hamas's charter states exactly that. Wake up. Wake up. First of all, people need to realize Islam is not a religion of peace. First of all, Islam means submission. And there are several writings in Islam that state that if you do not believe what they believe, if you are what they term an infidel, they can kill you. It's in their religion. And I don't want to say the word wrong, but there's actually a part that they teach. It starts with a T, and it states basically that they can lie if they believe it's in service to Allah. They can lie. They can do these things. Look what happened in the UK. Look up a guy. I want everyone, please go take a look at a guy named Tommy Robinson and look at the fight that he's had to fight. Over 1 million people raped in this country. And he is the only one, well, not the only one. He's got a lot of people behind him, but he's one with the guts to stand up and come out and speak out against what they're doing without any type of I wouldn't say second thought of doing it, because obviously he's putting his life at risk by doing it. I wish I could actually find that show, that clip where Tommy Robinson was on Piers Morgan. I'm going to look for it while I'm sitting here with you. I'm going to Tommy Robinson, Piers Morgan. I want to see if I can't find this clip, because let me tell you, this guy right here, Tommy Robinson, is an absolute beast. He was going to be on the show. We were talking. He was actually going to come on the show, and unfortunately was unable to make it. He had some things come up, and from my understanding, they leaked his address to people that were, when you do what he does and they leak your address, you're better off being, there's a difference between being brave and stupid, people. And so he is a guy who fights for what is right, and he doesn't give a damn who's listening. And he's calling them out because the Muslims, they were fine when their numbers weren't as much as they were in the UK. And as soon as their numbers came up there, then all of a sudden they started instituting Sharia law, which is their goal no matter where they are. Let's get that straight. Their goal, no matter where they are, is Sharia law. That is their absolute goal. That's what they want. All this is going to kill me. But I'm telling you, folks, you really need to see this guy in action. He is fearless. And like I said, when I had my opportunity to talk to him, and I just told him, I said, listen, our listeners need to hear what you've gone through, what you're fighting against. They need to hear the reality, because the people hide the reality from you, from radical Islam. It seemed like all of a sudden, when it was 9/11 and all that was going on, you couldn't, no, everyone, radical Islam this, radical Islam that. And then all of a sudden, all of those things kind of went away, and it became very taboo to talk about radical Islam, like it doesn't exist anymore. Well, folks, let me tell you, it does exist. And they're moving in to countries across the world. And when they move into those countries across the world, they're only there to gather their numbers. And when their numbers come up, they're there to take over and institute Sharia law. And once it's instituted, there are things that you can't do that you take for granted, like read your Bible in public, preach your Bible in public. They'll arrest you for it. They will arrest you for it. Oh, man, I cannot find this interview with him and Piers Morgan, but it was a great one. Look it up. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, and you'll definitely enjoy. You'll enjoy the clip for sure. And I know it's here. I've seen it. Whoa, did I find it? Oh, I found a picture of it. That's not cool. Oh, it's going to bug me so bad. And as soon as I'm off air, I'm going to find it with no problem. That's what's going to happen. But just to show you how much, guys, this man has gone to bat for his country. He's taken people in, given them homes, given them places to sleep. He really loves his countrymen, and he's fought hard. I did find one clip of him, and he's accosted by these guys everywhere he goes, but he doesn't back down. He doesn't back down. And like I said, we're going to have some folks on the podcast coming up where we're going to be talking about the changing of the flags from the 5-point star to the 8-point star, which is a Muslim thing. And they're doing it all across the United States. And trust me, this is very intentional. Very intentional. I'm going to show you this clip of Tommy Robinson. Take a look.
Don't point your camera at me, I'll break your camera, I'm telling you. Go on, then you got something to say. What you got something to say? What you got to say? Huh?
Oh God. Oh God. No.
What do you mean? Say something there. Pussy. Go on.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm lucky to stop from that, bro.
Go on. Yeah. Remember my face, yeah?
Welcome to Luton.
Let me tell you, that guy's in it with those people everywhere he goes, and he calls them out every single place he goes. He went to Piers, when he went on Piers Morgan's show, he held up the Quran and he said, there will never be peace as long as this book exists. You know how much guts it takes to say something like that and go on Piers Morgan on CNN and stand your ground with something like that? And Piers Morgan, a complete twit, tried to stop him from doing it. Tried to stop it. Come on, show some respect, he says. Oh, he's an absolute buffoon, man. An absolute buffoon. But listen, and the other thing is this. Other thing is this. We can get caught up, right? We can get caught up in these types of things. And I'm as much a fighter as any one of you guys. I love my country. I don't do this strictly for fun, although it is fun for me. I do this because I care about my country and I care about the future of my country. And I'm trying to get other folks that are out there. I'm trying to bring them the knowledge. I'm trying to bring them the truth in such a way as that our media, chicken shit as they are, won't do it. They won't tell it to you this way. They walk up to the line and they posture and they stop. They don't cross that line. It's like the 11th commandment is thou shalt be nice and forget the other 10. It's not like that at all. We need to be warriors. We need to be fierce. Our quietness is complicitness when it comes to the things that we see happening. But I digress. I'm going to go to our sponsors real quick, and I'll be right back. When I come back, we're going to get more onto a different topic for a second before we get out of here, because what I'm going to be talking about is something that we need to hear, especially the men. You guys all need to hear this. We'll be right back.
Greetings, kindred spirits. Welcome to Smoking Gun Coffee, where the essence of the land infuses every sip. It carries the spirit of reverence for the earth and its gifts. As you indulge in our carefully crafted blends, envision the dance of the winds and the whispers of ancient trees. Let each cup be a journey through time, a tribute to the harmony found in nature. Smoking Gun Coffee, a ritual of warmth, a connection to the sacred. Embrace the rich tapestry of flavors and join us in honoring the legacy of the land. Taste the spirit, savor the journey. Smoking Gun Coffee, where every cup is a celebration of our shared connection.
Guys, go to thepatriotsprayer.com. Thepatriotsprayer.com. When you get there, click on the link at the top. It'll say Smoking Gun Coffee. Use code NATIVEPATRIOT and you'll get 10% off your purchase of coffee there, of Smoking Gun Coffee. Now, guys, listen, the next topic is a little more lighthearted. This is a little more toward those out there who need to hear this. I mean, a lot of people need to hear this. We can get caught up in the rigmarole and the back and forth of right versus left and these things that we do, that we fight for every day. I am as guilty as most of being on this thing constantly and on Twitter and wherever else, or just having a ton of things to do. I'm a go-getter. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a hustler, and I'm going to be doing whatever it takes to build the Patriots Prayer to where it needs to be, where it should be, because I feel like that's what God has put me here to do. But with that said, it is so important that we remember, each of us, to take the time to go be with our family. If you're fathers, go be a father. If you're a husband, go be a husband. Remember that you have a duty to people in your community and your family. Take time away from these things. Take time to go remember your responsibilities. Because listen, if we're as connected as we are throughout our social media and our electronic devices and all that, we're supposed to be more connected. But there is a bigger pandemic of loneliness going on today than ever has been, ever. I go every year to a men's retreat up in Utah, and it's called Wild at Heart. We get up there. It's a group of guys, usually between 150, 200 of us. Amazing entertainment while we're up there. Great food. We camp out. There's lodging nearby at Bryan Head. If you're not a camper and you want to sleep in a hotel room, you can still do that. There's golfing up there. Not my thing. Listen, I understand for you golfers out there, that you guys, that's what you're into. When I go out to nature, I'm not going out to golf. I love golfing, but when I'm going up in the woods and up in the mountain near lakes, I'm not there to golf. I'm there to ride four-wheelers, fish, archery, all these types of things, hike, whatever else. I'm not there to golf, but they do have it if that's what you're into. So if you go to valleymen.org, that's valleymen.org, and you want to come hang out with me and 200 other guys, and it's going to be up in Utah, up in a place called oh man, I can't believe it. Cedar Breaks, Utah, and beautiful lake right there. Hopefully I have my fifth wheel and everything's taken care of, and I'll be able to take that up there with me. We're going to be up there in July. I believe it's on July the 26th. You can go to valleymen.org. The website is valleymen.org. Go to the site. If you can't go, you can sponsor someone else who can go, because we bring folks up here every year, some who can't afford to pay for it themselves, and we sponsor folks to do it. We sponsor folks from Hope for Prisoners. If you remember a story I told you about John Ponder, and he was pardoned by Donald Trump. John Ponder runs an organization called Hope for Prisoners, and I love to highlight it. And they usually every year will send a group of folks up to the camp, and it's just great to see their perspectives on what they think it's going to be versus what it is. A bunch of guys in flannels and camo and that sort of thing up on a hill, with archery and all this types of stuff going on, and you get some people from the inner city, and they go and they kind of look at everybody like, oh shit, what did we get into? What are we coming up here for? Are we in that movie Get Out? What's going on? And then by the time they leave, there have been bonds created, lifelong bonds created. Barriers come down when their preconceived notions do. So, and then we have these small groups of men who get together, and we rely on other men. Essentially, we get things off of our chest. We recommit our lives to the Lord. We have a baptism that takes place every year up there, and the water is 45 degrees, folks, sometimes colder. And I'm telling you, people get in this water to get baptized. Now, I've been baptized, but I took a friend up there last year who took the plunge and gave his life to the Lord. And he said next year when he comes up, or this year, that he's getting baptized. So I told him, I said, if you get in that water, I will too. So I'm going to get baptized this year again, and I'll probably baptize him. And I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it. And so, guys, if you want a bunch of guys that love their country, that want to go up around a bunch of guys that are teaching each other how to be men again, how to take charge and be the man of your house, how to be the spiritual leader of your family. Let's see some great entertainment up there. Last year we had the Las Vegas Raiders, the lead singer of their band came out, and he did. I'm just telling you, I'll pull some clips out. I did some. I made some videos of what we did last year, and it will blow you away. It'll blow you away. It was really, really something to see. And so with that, folks, is I'm going to do what I usually do and tell you, The silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. And we'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer podcast, guys. And thank you again for all of the love that's been shown, guys. I am nearing, I expect that at this rate of growth, I'll be over 7,000 followers within the month. Go over to the locals, folks, and support us in what we're doing. We're growing. I mean, you have no idea what's getting ready to happen within the next month or two. The Patriots Prayer is going to be completely changing, and the people that we're adding on are going to add so much value, right? We may not be Daily Wire. We may not be Turning Point USA, but we are going to be taking strides to like them and to climb that mountain to become like them. So the people that I have joining the Patriots Prayer and the other shows that we're getting ready to produce are going to are a big step in that direction. The names that we're going to have on the podcast are going to blow your mind. I'm just telling you straight up. I mean, you already seen some of the people we've had: Ben Davison, Jameson Ellis. Listen, those guys are great. I love them, and I stay in contact and talk to them. And we're just going to have a lot more of that. A lot more of that. Remember, Alexandra Levine was in Trump's National Faith Cabinet. She was on all those calls with Trump, all of those conference calls, and she's very much in touch with people that were in that cabinet. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to throw names out there, that sort of thing. We're getting her set up right now. I'm doing the graphics and doing the layovers. I'm creating everything that she needs to hit the ground running. And when she does, she's going to hit the ground running. Her first guest is going to blow your damn socks off. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. I'm not going to tell her truth. I'm going to let her tell it to you. But it's coming, and look out for that. Guys, thanks so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us. Taruk Maktu, I love that name. Leslie, Annette, all of you guys. Democrats are destroying America. I love your screen name. Absolutely. Thanks, and come hang out with us again next time. Wednesday and Friday at 6. This Wednesday, we're going to have some amazing guests on the podcast that are going to talk about the Islamic takeover of the United States that's happening right in front of your face, and you don't see it. They're hiding the symbols and taking away our own symbols. It didn't stop with the Native American symbols, but that's the same. It's the same place. It's the same people. That's all I'm going to say. Guys, come check it out. Wednesday at 6 p.m. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer podcast, guys. We love you, and have a good week.
My people of this country, and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flag.